guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I did this entire look using drugstore products and drugstore brushes. So everything I used was really affordable, and I just want to show you guys how you can get the same looks as me using really affordable products. So let's get started. So first I'm going to do what I would normally do first, which is use a primer. I'm going to use this NYX primer base. I've never really used this before, so we're going to see how it turns out. But if you don't have a primer, not to worry, just use a moisturizer before you use a foundation and you should still get pretty good results. So a primer is just going to smooth my face a little more and make my makeup last a little bit longer. This primer is really like white, so not something I usually use. A lot of times I use like NARS Radiance primer, which is a lot warmer. So we'll see how this works out. But I have faith that I can get good results with drugstore brands. So I'm just going to make sure to put that all over my face, including my brows, because it makes it a little bit easier to apply a pencil. And I'm going to do my brows next. I like to let my primer kind of set a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to use ColourPop's brow pencil. I think this retails for about $6 and it is so worth it. It's actually got a really good creamy consistency, so it goes on pretty easily. And this is in dark brown. So I'm going to go along my brow right underneath. And then I'm going to take the other end and just brush through. I kind of like my brows to look a little more natural, so I don't make them solid. I just like the color to go in them just a little bit. So I will take the pencil side and fill in if I have like any gaps, but I'm not going to make them solid. Okay, next I usually use a product called Gimme Brow from Benefit. Today I'm going to use what I think is similar in drugstore prices. It's also by the company called NYX. And this is a 3-in-1 brow pencil, so it has pencil, powder, and mascara. I'm going to use the mascara end just to kind of thicken my brows a little bit and get them to stay in place. It's a liquid, and I think that this wand kind of has a lot of product on it for me, so I'm going to use a brow brush. You don't necessarily have to use this, and you can get these from anywhere, any price, and they all pretty much work the same. This one is from Jeffree Star, so this is not a drugstore. I'm cheating a little bit. So I'm just going to go lightly along my hairs here to get them to look a little bit darker. I'm going to use this flat brush right here that I got in Ipsy to underline my brows. It really doesn't matter what company you got this brush from. Any flat brush that's this kind of shape will work to perfect your brows. So I'm going to use this. And I'm going to be careful not to use too much product really close to the hairs. Okay, the only problem I have with ColourPop's concealer that I think is not as great as Prestige is that it dries really quickly, so it can crease if you don't pat it out. So I'm going to use this Real Technique sponge, which you guys know I really only use certain sponges, but I'm going to use this one for you guys. I think it's about $3 to pat out my concealer and just make sure that it's on evenly and that there's not too much product on my eye so that I don't get any creasing. Okay, so usually I take like a light color, like a skin colored color, and set my eye, but I saw a tutorial today with Jamie Genevieve and Kaylee MUA, and she started with a really dark color and she did not set her eyes first, and she got a ton of pigmentation. So I'm gonna do that same thing today and see how it turns out. I'm using the Makeup Revolution Reloaded palette. And I have seen really good reviews on this palette. This is a drugstore. It's $7. You can get it at Ulta. So, I think I'm gonna start actually with black. I'm gonna start with black. I'm going for it, y'all. So I'm using a brush from Luxie. It is the 227T brush. The reason I'm using this is because I don't think Luxie brushes are expensive, and I just want any kind of blendy brush that I can pack on shadow with. So any brush that's shaped like this, that looks anything similar to this, you could totally use. So my primer is kind of like sticky still, which is gonna help with the pigmentation. Yeah, and for $7, that palette is actually giving me a ton of pigment, so I'm not mad at it. Okay, next I'm gonna take this dark brown color and just start building on top. I am gonna tap off excess because I really don't want fallout. I'm just gonna take and kind of blend that out there. I actually so far highly recommend these Makeup Revolution palettes. They are so affordable and really easy to use thus far. I'm gonna use the shimmer from this palette as well, so I'll let you guys know what I think about that. Okay, so I'm just gonna take a fluffy brush and just wipe off the fallout that I'm having, but in all fairness, I did put a lot of shadow on the brush because I really want it to build up, so I'm not blaming it on the shadow palette. Okay. Okay, so next I am going to use a Morphe brush. I don't consider Morphe drugstore, but it's also not considered prestige. Their brushes run between like $4 and $12. Actually, no, I should say $4 and $25. I have paid $25 for a foundation brush from Morphe before, but this particular brush I think is like $5 to $7 maybe. This is just a fluffy blending brush. So next I'm going to take this light kind of like beige brown color and just continue blending that. Okay, so I'm going to take this other Morphe fluffy blending brush. This is the Morphe 441, and again, like any blending brush from any company works just fine. If you don't have multiple brushes, like just be creative. That's what makeup's about. It's really your own style. Everyone is different and you can do great things with all kinds of stuff. Okay, so with this like reverse method that I'm using, instead of building up from a lighter color to a darker one, I'm doing the darker to the lighter. I find that you do have to use quite a bit of product to blend it, but it is working pretty well, and my crease, my corner is still like really dark, which is what I want, so maybe I'll just start doing this on the regular. Okay, so once I've got that blended out, I'm actually going to do a cut crease today. I want to show you guys that you can do this with drugstore products. You don't have to have every single brush to do it. Really, I mean, a cut crease is unnecessary, but you can do it with your finger. You can literally just take the product and do it with your finger. I am going to use a brush just because I really like my cut creases to be really crisp. But I'm going to give you guys a couple different options because you don't have to use the same brush as me. I can't even find the one I want. Alright, I literally just used it, so. Did it fall? Yeah. Okay, so the brush that I used, this flat one that I got in my Ipsy, will work just fine. The smaller the brush, the more precise your cut crease is going to be. I'm actually going to use a Luxie 160 lip brush to do my cut crease, just because I want it to be super crisp today. So I am going to go ahead and use the ColourPop concealer. I've never used this on a cut crease yet, but I think it'll work just fine. You can really use like any matte foundation, any quickly drying, not really heavy, either concealer or foundation will work just fine. So I'm gonna take and apply that to the crease. And then I also learned today that if you just pat it on, then it won't blend with the color. So that's how you keep it really crisp. Okay, however, I'm still a fan of this method where you look up. So then your eye like naturally shows you where to stop the crease, to cut the crease. So do that if you've never done a cut crease before. That's a really good way to show you where to cut it. So it went up to here. Then I'm going to take that brush I was using to conceal and just kind of blend it out this way. This takes away any harsh lines. Okay, before I go on to the next eye, I'm going to go ahead and apply my shimmery color to that eye just because I don't want it to crease. Just because I don't want it to crease. So I am going to use this gold color from the same Makeup Revolution palette. And I'm using the same flat brush that I used for concealer. And I'm just going to pat that on where my concealer is still kind of wet. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing to this eye. I already looked up so I can see where my crease needs to be cut. And then I'm just going to pat on the concealer. And then I'm going to go ahead and go back to my brush that I used to put concealer on my eye right after my brows, this flat one. And just kind of dust this out and blend it in. Okay, then once your eyes are pretty much even, go ahead and put the gold on the other eye. So I'm using this gold from the Makeup Revolution palette that I can't get open. So that gold right there. And this is while my concealer is wet, I'm not putting a base color on there. So I'm just gonna go ahead and pat the gold on. And honestly, this palette's really coming through, like $7. It's actually pretty creamy. It is not like the most shimmery, but it's pretty actually. I think I might actually use it on a regular basis. Okay, and that's the eyes done. Well, mostly. Okay, so shoot, usually I put on a setting spray. I think I'm gonna skip that today. So what I'm gonna use is the No7 Airbrush Away foundation. This is from Target. I'm not sure if they sell this product anywhere else, but this is the only drugstore foundation that I own. I've never used it on myself, so we're gonna see what happens. So I'm just gonna apply that right, actually I'm gonna put it on my beauty blender to be safe. Okay, so going in with the Real Techniques, I'm just gonna dab that. Oh, it's really light, it's kind of pretty. Okay, so I'm gonna put on a lot more. I'm just gonna put it on my face. It actually matches me, so that's great. And if you don't even have foundation, honestly, I think you can get away with just using concealer. That's what I did for many, many years before I really came into the makeup world. You can do a lot of things with concealer. So I'm just gonna blend that out. Now, this Real Techniques sponge for $3, it's really not bad. Like, it's definitely getting the job done. However, I do really favor like the Morphe. Even the NYX ones are still like $6, $7 and they work really well. I really like them. I think they're comparable to the original Beauty Blender. And they don't pick up as much product as this one. This one I noticed kind of does absorb the product a little bit, but that said, it is blending, so for $3, it's really not bad. Okay. Next, I'm gonna go ahead and conceal and highlight. So using the same $7 concealer, I'm gonna go under my eyes, all the normal places. And go ahead and blend that in with the same beauty blender, or blending sponge, I guess. All right, not too bad for $7. Okay, I was gonna go with this tiny little precision brush underneath my eyes, but I feel like I'm not being fair to you guys because everyone's always saying like, I don't have a million brushes like you and I can't do all that because I don't have those brushes. So I'm gonna use that same brush that I started doing my shadow with. As long as the brush is thin enough, you can go under your eyes, but like be really careful. I'm gonna have to be super extra careful because I'm gonna go with the black again underneath my eyes. So I'm gonna tap off excess product, especially under your eye. You don't wanna get it in your eye. And just really lightly go under your eye. If you have a smaller brush, it's definitely easier to go underneath your eye with a smaller brush. Okay, so I'm gonna clean that brush off a little bit just because the black is so dark and pigmented. And then go ahead, I'm actually gonna use the lightest brown. I'm skipping the middle brown because I feel like that's gonna be a little bit too much, and I feel like I'm gonna be able to blend out this black with the lightest tan color. So again, tap off excess product and then just go kind of over the edge of where you put the darkest color and blend that out. No, I don't usually go this low, but I've been hearing that's what you should do, is go really low. So it covers the bags under your eyes with the eyeshadow. It's interesting. I'll give it a try. Okay, so I'm happy with that. Next, I'm going to contour. This is actually a bronzer I use on the regular. It's the Butter Bronzer from Physicians Formula. And it smells like you're at the beach in Hawaii. It smells like coconut butter, like it's the best. So, yeah, like I said, I use it on the regular. I was gonna use a brush for this, but like I said, a lot of you guys say I don't have a brush for this, that, and the other thing. And I believe that you can do so many things with a beauty blender. So I'm gonna go with a wet beauty blender and use a powder product. This is not something I've ever seen anyone else do, but I have done it before and it worked out really well. So hopefully it'll do the same this time. So I'm just gonna start like patting it because you don't want to go like too dark right away. No, it's working pretty good. I should just do a full face with just a beauty blender. I think I could do it. Be kind of hard with the eyeshadow, but I'll do it. Next vid. No, I'm just kidding. I'm gonna do BoxyCharm next time, guys. So if you do have a brush to put on your contour, use it. But honestly, the beauty blender works just fine for everything. You can use it for anything and everything. So when you're going under your jawline, remember to look at like as many different angles as you can because it's hard to see if you're not in the right lighting. And I want to get rid of my double chin, but I don't want to have a makeup line. So just make sure that you check that you're really blending that down and out. But it's working pretty well with the beauty blender. The good news is it takes me forever to do everything, so like even if the camera dies, you probably didn't miss it all. Okay, so I'm happy with that bronzer. Usually I go with a white setting powder, which I actually can recommend this Makeup Revolution setting powder. I really like to use white underneath the eyes because I feel like every other setting powder I use really makes my under eye like yellow. However, I've noticed that my skin's really dry lately and I'm getting old, so it gets really wrinkly if I use setting powder underneath. So I'm not going to set under my eyes today, but I am going to use the banana colored Makeup Revolution luxury baking powder just in some areas that I want to stay put and that I might think I might get a little bit oily in. So you can go with a beauty blender again. I usually use a damp one. Yeah, I think I'm done with my contour, so I'm gonna use the same sponge the whole way. No more excuses with the no brushes, ladies. We can do it all with a beauty blender. So I'm just gonna go and set my forehead and then just around here a little bit. And I'm just kind of patting that in with the wet, damp side of the beauty blender because I don't want to have any flashback, and I don't really like to bake because, like I said, my skin's pretty dry, so. If you do like to bake, if you have really oily skin, if you are worried about your under eyes staying in place, go ahead and use that white powder. Okay, I'm gonna try without it today. Okay, so next I'm gonna use a highlight, and I'm again going with Makeup Revolution, and I have used this highlight on a regular basis. I think I've actually maybe even put it in videos before. I think this highlight, again, it's a trio, is about $7. So far, so pretty cheap. You can also do this with a beauty blender. So I'm actually going to go with a dry beauty blender. This is the Morphe beauty blender. I believe it retails for $8. I like it 100 times better than the Makeup Revolution one, I'm sorry. Or I mean, than the Real Techniques one. So just being honest. And then I think I'm gonna go with the gold color right here. But you could continue on with the same sponge. So I'm just gonna rub my dry beauty blender in there and pat it along my cheek here. I did this the other day when I got ready in a different room where I didn't have any brushes, and it worked out really well, so. I might just make this a trend. So, drugstore highlight isn't as bright. It's not, but it's not bad. It's definitely doable. Okay, so I mixed in a little bit of the white as well just to brighten it up a little bit, but it's actually kind of pretty. It's not bad. Especially for like an everyday. I'm just extra, you know. So I'm gonna go ahead and highlight the rest of my face. And the tip of the beauty blender is actually kind of nice to go in those little tiny areas. I do usually set my face at this point too, but I don't think that setting spray and setting powders are completely necessary. I think you can still make your makeup look really good without them. I am gonna set my face at this point because I'm going out tonight, but I'm gonna use the Morphe setting spray, which again, I don't consider it drugstore, but it's also not prestige. I think that this setting mist costs about $15. It is waterproof, and it's actually one of my favorite setting sprays. It applies kind of like it's like an aerosol can. It applies kind of like a hairspray, so it goes on really finely, and yeah, it's my favorite. For $15, it lasts quite a while, and I definitely think it's worth it, but not necessary. So I'm just gonna spray this all over my face to keep my makeup in place. If you are baking, setting spray really helps take away any flashback too, so just keep that in mind. Okay, I'm gonna dry my face off a little bit because it's kind of wet. So I always keep a fan. This is totally unnecessary. You can use whatever. You don't have to be as extra as me, but I like to dry off my setting spray just so that it doesn't like move anywhere that I don't want it to be. I usually put setting spray on before I put on my highlight just so that my highlight goes on like extra bright, but I just wanted to prove to you guys that you don't need to do that. Okay, so next I'm gonna use drugstore mascara. I haven't done this in like 10 years, but it's Maybelline New York's Lash Sensational, I think that's what it's called. Yeah, Luscious. I had it on the Spanish side, you guys. Lash Sensational Luscious Full Fan Effect, and it's waterproof. So there's that. The reason I chose this one is because it has a rubber brush, and I really like rubber brushes on my mascara wands. I use lashes, fake lashes anyway, so I don't think that mascara is like super important, but it's definitely necessary. Unless the mascara is like really bad or really good, I don't notice a huge difference in mascara brands until later in the day when I notice they're either like flaking off or transferring onto my under eyes. So I will take a video later and update you guys on how this makeup lasted, because I haven't really worn drugstore makeup since I learned how to do makeup when I was like 12. So we'll see. But I will keep you guys updated. Okay, I feel like it looks fine. and then I'm gonna clean off that first shadow brush that I used with the black, and not the one that I used under my eye too, and I am gonna use it in the corner of my eye too, just to prove to you guys that I can and it's possible. Okay, so I'm gonna use the Makeup Revolution highlight to highlight my inner eye with that same first blending brush that I used. I'm gonna use the white color in here because I felt like it was the brightest, and I like my inner eye to be really bright. Oh, it's kind of bluish, so I'm gonna use a little bit of gold too. Whatever, it's not too bad. It's actually really bright on my inner eye, so that's nice. Okay, and then I'm gonna take the gold and highlight underneath my brow like I normally do. All with the same little cheap brush. Okay. So I'm gonna use Ardell lashes. These are drugstore as well. This came from an Ardell lookbook. I'm really not a fan of drugstore lashes. They don't last as long, the bands aren't as thick, so you can't wear them as many times, which I think is why they're cheaper. And they aren't obviously as luscious and full as I want them to be. A really good brand that I think they do a really good job at is called Allure. They do have some pretty full lashes. I just didn't have those on me, and I do have these ones. Brides are usually a pretty big fan of the Ardell brand because they are pretty, but they're more natural looking. So I'm gonna go with these 120s. I used to wear these lashes all the time before I became this extra. So I have faith that they can look pretty good. I think these lashes retail for like $3 to $5. Oh, so sad. I am using the Duo Lash Glue. You can buy this at any drugstore too. I think it's like $5. And that's what I normally use. Lashes are not necessary though. If you don't have them, just throw a lot of mascara on. It's all good. I just think they add a little something to the look. Okay, also with drugstore lashes, because the band is usually so thin, you can't let them like sit and get tacky as long. The glue is like, there's not as much glue on it, so it'll dry really quick. Okay, so drugstore lashes, better than nothing. Not my favorite, but work with what you got. Okay, so next I'm gonna use this LA Girl Perfect Precision Lip Liner. I actually really like this lip liner. My mom gave it to me because she didn't like the color, and it turns out it's like the perfect nude color that I love. I think that this lip liner is like $4 or $5. It's so cheap. LA Girl is really not that bad, especially for the price. So I'm gonna line my lips with that. Okay, and this lip liner is in the color Bear. Okay, next I'm gonna go with ColourPop's lipstick called Appy. It's just this nude color. You guys have actually probably seen me use this before because I really like this lipstick. I think that this lipstick is $7. And it's actually one of my favorites, so. The color is near identical. It's just a little bit peachier than the lip liner. Okay, so that's that. This is the finished look. Like I said, I do love using prestige products, but if you don't have everything I have, you can definitely make a look good without it. Okay, so here's the finished look. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Comment down below and let me know what you think. Do you think my makeup looks just as good as it normally does? Or can you tell I use drugstore brands for this look? Let me know. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Okay, see you guys next time. Bye. Love you guys.